Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. I'm your host, Joe, with Coinigy here, joined by the wonderful Mr. Brian Beamish from therationalinvestor.com. How we doing tonight, Brian? Investor.com.
I'm
How we doing
always
tonight, Brian?
better hearing
Investor.com.
your voice and hearing that we are on the interwebs
There we
and
go.
kicking butt. Actually, looks like we got a couple viewers. I had problems with OBS, I think, last week when we tried to get the video going. So if you could just maybe give us feedback that you can hear Joe awesome and you can hear me awesome and everything's awesome and we're just all awesome.
Yes, sir. Hopefully, we got it up and running. Hey, Adam. Welcome back.
There's Adam.
Good to see
Hey.
ya.
All right. How's the audio sounding, Adam? You'll be our mic check. And my apologies. I think you just asked me how I am, so I'll say, I'm great, Joe. It's awesome to see you again. All right, now back to you.
Love to hear it. Hopefully, it's not too cold up there.
It's snowing again. We got another good blizzard here. And the worst part about it is I'm supposed to drive down to you in 2 weeks' time.
I know. Oh.
Hey, I was promised this global warming crap. Now, what the hell's going on?
Not sure, but yeah, we got about an inch of ice here.
An inch of ice? Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
Roads are disgusting, so I had to break out the micro spike crampons to go take the dog for around the block today.
Really? It's
Yeah,
like literally, it's like freezing rain?
Yeah, it was like 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was rain then. Yeah, was some snow, turned into some icy rain, and it's terrible now.
Huh.
So hopefully it warms up a little bit around here.
Yeah, I was gonna drive down to LA in the middle of February. I guess that wasn't the smartest plan, eh?
Yeah,
What a dummy.
that's it. Hopefully it'll be gone. But yeah, like you mentioned, we'll be hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be doing a show live.
Yeah,
For
well,
all of our
I think
viewers.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, exactly 3 weeks. So usually we do this show once every second week, and so I think what we'll have to do is we probably won't get together till the 7th.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be doing that live with you.
Yeah, so Brian's driving down from Canada, making his way coming through Oregon, and we're gonna meet up on the Wednesday, and we're gonna do a live show together. So we're looking forward to that.
Super
And
exciting. Yeah, that should be fun to
yeah,
see whether you're actually a real person or not.
yeah. No, I'm just AI.
Suppose if they were going to build AI, I would say use the Joe personality interface.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean you're a great person.
Thank you.
Um,
Likewise, I'm really looking
No,
forward.
no, they would no. I'm not. I'm politically absolutely horribly incorrect. I'm a loudmouth. I'm opinionated. I would, in fact, I would be willing to bet that I've been on the YouTubes now for like 10 years, and we've often been wondering why on earth I still only get like 500, 1,000 views to like the videos when these social media influencers have tens of thousands of views and stuff. And the only thing I can chalk it up to is that, Big Brother looks at me and goes, we do not want to help this guy out. He could be a troublemaker.
That's too funny.
But the good part about it is, if you're watching this, I'm an advocate for all of you.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not an advocate for Big Brother. In fact, I hate the system. I hate the way that they sort of, right out of the get-go in like grade school, they brainwash you on how to be poor for your entire life. But be a good citizen and pay your taxes and walk your dog and pick up the poop behind them and all that. Man, so like I'm here to help you. I'm here to empower you. I'm like the guy in the 1984. Do you remember the Apple commercial when they're doing the whole Big Brother thing? And wow, don't come to China right now. I mean,
Yeah.
China is the definition of that George Orwellian 1984 scenario with the guy who's in power here. It's shocking how brutal it is.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love about the United States of America is, there's so many checks and balances that it's really, really hard for one guy to just plop himself into power and just become like a little despot. Um, even when Mr. Orange Toupee was running the show there were still so many checks and balances that sort of tried to keep him in line. And he
Yeah.
spent basically 4 years fighting the system, eh? But here in China, oh my goodness, it's quite shocking how it's getting. So
It
anyway,
is.
there's a great example of Brian, the
Brian's
Brian
rants.
personality type is just going to get you in trouble. Whereas Joe's sitting there going, "Hey, I'll be your friend. I'm a nice guy. Look at this smile I got on my face. Hey, it's all rainbows and sunshine. Let's do this."
There we go. Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys have a new semester underway. Best of luck to all of those new students,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
Actually,
really
I was
looking forward to
surprised
them.
that we had an uptick relative to last term. So I don't know whether that's a function of the booming crypto environment or Coinigy's incredible referral program, and Joe's smiling face telling the viewers, "Hey, man, maybe give these guys a try. You
Give these
never know."
guys. Brian's a good guy.
It's one of the two.
But
So, but
awesome. Well, I'm excited to get into it. It's been kind of a crazy week. I mean, even last
yeah.
week, since the last time we talked, we got the Bitcoin ETF getting the thumbs up, and then Bitcoin. We can talk a little bit about with Bitcoin. Didn't really make too much of a jump, but it was the some of the altcoins, a lot of the Ethereum coins really spiked. After that. But I know we got a handful of requests from some of the viewers, and I see we got another one that just came in the chat, one that we've actually discussed in length in the past. Before I do forget, please remember to like the video, subscribe. It is your best way to help us with this content, help get it out there, get the viewers out. It really does make a difference. So if you're watching it now or at a later date, please give us that thumbs up. But
Yeah, we
should we
got
jump into it?
we've got Adam coming out of Sacramento, our sound checker. Great to see you here in the audience, Adam, as always. And Noam Chomsky, cool name, has
That's a
asked
great
us to
name.
look at Rune. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know where we want to begin tonight, but I suppose we can start wherever you want. Yeah, I am an agent of all of you. So tell me, what are we looking at first? Where are we going to go with this thing?
Let's take a look at INV, inverse finance versus USD.
INV
Yes. And then on
um,
Coinbase there.
versus USD on Coinbase here. That's on
Yes.
$32. Jeez, these coins are getting expensive. Excuse me. So Coinbase Pro or Coinbase Even? I'm not quite sure what the difference is.
Coinbase even. One's just like their advanced trades, and I think they're basically turned into almost the same.
All right, this is CBSE. Does
Yep,
that
this
look
is
like the
regular
place where we want to be?
Coinbase.
I hate to say it, folks, but actually, this is a really good example. And if anything, my commentary there about the uptick in students. Um, Also, too, I like to joke around, and actually, you're part of the website now, so I don't know whether you've seen me post in the lounge and stuff. Seeing a lot of sort of comments on social media, and I retort, "How do you tell it's the top of the market?" And there was one YouTuber, the guy goes, these shorts. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to top out? And some guy with a totally straight face goes, $1,300,000 a coin, and it's like,
Yeah.
are you gonna be kidding me?
And those are the jerks that are getting all the views,
Yeah, and that's
lying to the public.
it's a sad commentary on this human species, is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I've never been really a big fan of the whole sort of. If anything, what ends up happening is that's a trap, because people get sort of suckered into, wow, I get all these views if I make this over the top claim,
Yeah.
and because I get all these views, I get a whole bunch of advertising revenue, and then they sort of get in the rhythm of comfortably having the shill, and if we're in a bull market, it works great. But if you're in a bull market and we've already gone up like fivefold, tenfold increase in price, does it really make sense that you're going to get that tenfold increase again? Not really. And that's where the trap is laid. And then you start hearing, you probably heard me say the comment, we've had people that really, really bummed me out because I thought I had taught them really well. They were TRI alumni.
Mm-hmm.
When Bitcoin was $65,000, and what's the message from the indicators that tells us that maybe we ought to think about price maybe going the other direction? Do you remember what that term was called?
Cool your jets?
Well, no,
Or
that's sort
wait,
of the
what?
that's not the textbook definition. Mind you, I think I did hear WD Gann once before said my official response is cool your jets.
I maybe I misunderstood your question.
Well, you're right. That's like the vernacular. That's kind of like the fun sort of,
Yeah.
and we have like a meme and stuff and the frozen jet, right? Cool your jets
Yeah.
kind of idea. But what is the message from the market that gets us to think that way? Starts with a
Yeah.
D.
Divergence.
Hey, very good. So, you as a technician, your job is to start identifying that divergence. And hopefully what you can see here is you notice that this move up here in MACD was really, really strong way back last fall.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice this move here into this December peak, not so strong. I don't know whether you can see, but the peaks in
Yeah.
MACD here are not nearly as high as the peaks here. So in a weird sort of way, as we're moving up here, the market is actually telling you, you know what, better be careful. I don't know whether you can see that. I mean, they're heading in opposite directions.
Yeah.
So this is where things like indicator confirmation are so important for us to sort of subconsciously have an idea. Is this a healthy, strong bull market? Well, no, it isn't. And then, what's Brian always say to you? If you ever see the market doing this, you better be damn careful.
If it's smiling at you, it wants to take your money.
Right. So that smile sort of confirmed all in there. So, this is a really good example where, if you had come to me last fall and said, well, Brian, I'm interested in this idea. Would you buy that? If we were talking the end of October, beginning of November, and the whole market was like this. I don't know. Did you watch the Daily Brief and the after party today on the site? I spent like literally half the broadcast talking about the interest rate market and the bond market.
Uh-huh.
And really, I think the whole reason why these risk assets bottomed here last end of October, beginning November, was all because of the interest rate market and the way that the central bankers are screwing around with the yield curve and bond prices right now. So, there's your buy. Big rally. I mean, did you get your double off? $29. This guy made it up to like $52. So not quite a double. Would have been nice, I suppose. You could also argue too, like, was this a half decent trade location? Well, if we had done something like a reload zone. Let's see if I can do this. 78.6 and 61.8, and then we'll flip it around. And you see that bottom came in right off 78.6.
Yeah.
So there's your buy. That's pretty straightforward. Market goes zooming up. It's too bad you didn't get a double. Would have been nice, but can't get them all the time. This might be one of those analogies. If you had bought this little old 80 style looking for the double, then really there's nothing to have been doing. You're sitting up right now, right? So as it stands right now, you're up a whopping, I don't know, maybe about that bottom there. And of course, we're right here right now. You're up a whopping 10% on your money. Woohoo! But we need this to get to 100 to get our double, and you can see it topped out at 75. Boo, hiss, boo. That's the way it goes. Did you, if you were a trader, did you get your 2-to-1 risk rewards? That would be sort of buying this double bottom breakout down here, wherever the low is. Hopefully you can see this. I've got quite a bit of gobbledygook all over here. Hold on. Let's get rid of this stuff. There we go. So had you bought this W down, up, down, breakout. So really, I mean, hell, I don't even mind if you had bought that breakout through that high there. Risk down this low. Probably actually would have been smarter would be just to risk against this low. And then that way you got a big wiggle room, comfortable sort of win. And it never even came back there. But anyway, the point being, did you get, if you were a trader, did you get your 2-to-1 risk reward? And that's into even right there, right? Probably not a big surprise why you have candle bodies right there. Bang, bang. So as soon as we got, do you see how that says 2-to-1 there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a bad color? I don't know whether you can see it.
No, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll increase that font. There you go. So as soon as you got to that 2-to-1 level off of this original double bottom, the traders are starting to ring the register up here. So I think that makes sense. Is the question, can I buy this right here, right now? I think you're probably a bit early on the buy side. Probably a little bit late on the sell side. Kind of like this logic. And we're pretty close to those levels, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting close. But, if we're thinking, and also, too, I would keep an eye on this, candle body lows for trade location. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. So, if we flip this around, there's Brian's favorite fib. I would not be surprised if a half decent, and actually interesting, that comes in off of these candle body lows. This is probably like 88.6 down here. But I don't really have a problem if you want to start shopping down in here. Might be a better way, although the price is relatively small, but small price change. But if we change that to log, yeah, you can probably see that this is 88.6. So let's throw that on there and see what it looks like.
Right under 2. It's the second one up on the right.
Second up on the right. There you go. There's a good place to have it, eh? You'd think I would have it up here. Anyway, yeah, so there's 88.6. I would say, just eyeballing this is like your trade window right in there. So that's 27 up to $30. And right now we're at 33. So, I mean, if you're a little old lady, does it really make that big of a difference? If these old highs were like, $500, $1,000, it wouldn't make that much of a difference, eh? I just don't know how high this thing used to be. So let's see what we got. Okay. Can you see? What have I said about this hole on the charts? What do we call that?
Price gaps love to be filled.
Yeah. So what's that? That's sitting there at $100. So I don't see any reason if this thing actually gets going in earnest and a rally is coming, we don't fill that in. Could probably also do just a really simple trend line analysis. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say the market is respecting this trend line. So what do we want to see to actually issue a buy signal with regard to trend lines?
A W on the other side of it.
All right, so you can see we broke out. Now, where's the W? And wouldn't it be cool if this thing came right down in here, back to the trend line, then put in your W, and away you go. Like, that would be the ideal trade setup.
Okay.
Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Right back down into the sort of bottom end of the range, and a kiss of the trend line from the other side. So that's trade location. I think we've identified trade location. I'd say that's probably pretty good. Indicators. And now you should be at the point now, Joe, working with me. Remember we had said that this was a bear div here, right?
Yep.
On that move. So unfortunately, that's not a good sign for the bulls. And unfortunately, when you see those bear divs confirm, this is where you get your line. If you see a confirmed bearish divergence, you should
Be scared.
cool.
Cool your jets.
Wow. The bulls should cool their jets. So.
Yes.
With this indicator looking, or excuse me, with the price looking the way that it is, and the moving averages pointing negatively here now, what do you think the indicators are probably doing? My
Pointing
hunch
down.
is they probably look like M's, and they're making lower highs and lower lows. So let's see. So, interesting. This isn't bad. You can see MACD's trying to bottom out. I suppose we'd get that bullish indication if MACD can get back above this midpoint right here. So it hasn't W'd out yet, but it's trying. RSI, does that look like it's W'd out yet or not? No, that looks
No,
very M-y.
that's still M's.
And it almost looks like a new M just came in here, eh?
Yeah.
So until this actually starts looking W-ish, and really, ideally, I'd love to see it get oversold like this. I think I'd be slightly cautious. And, I think Julian, he likes to use RSI when he's trading, and he'll draw a trend line. So I need W's on other sides of that trend line. And then we could also draw another one off of there to there. So I'd like to see W's on the other side of this trend line. So you can tell there's a lot of resistance here. This is why I often like to put on a moving average off of the RSI, so you can tell as long as we're below the moving average, the trend is still down here. So nothing at RSI. How about Willie? The one good part about this, I suppose, and if the moving average itself is below minus 80, what do I like to call this? The state of the market here.
Stupidly oversold.
Right. So if anything, this is a really good analogy that it's just way too late to be a seller. Should have been selling when we were emming out up top here, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So this probably actually means that we're closer to a bottom than a top, but look how long it took for Willie to go into oversold and then to finally work its way and come out the other side.
Yeah, a nice 3 month, 2.5, 3 month window.
And that's very typical. So, just because Willie is stupidly oversold, that doesn't necessarily mean that this thing's actually a buy. It just means that we're probably close to some sort of bottom, and you're just going to have to be patient, cool your jets, that kind of thing. And if you want to be a seller, you got to wait for this thing to come out of that zone. So you can see 66 bars, and this is basically a couple months, right? Because 30 days in a month, and this trades 7 days a week.
Yep.
So you can kind of see, comparatively speaking, we're kind of over here, and probably going to have to do something along these lines as the indicator bottoms out. So too late to be a seller, and that kind of makes sense too, because this price up here is $50. And here we are at $30. So it makes sense that if you really wanted to sell at a good price, you missed that. Sorry. And if anything, off of the entire price range, we're actually coming back to levels where institutional players might actually start getting interested again. Right? And the 78.6 to 61.8 fib, what do I like to call that?
Brian's favorite. Oh, the reload zone. Sorry.
Yeah. So the point being that, I used to work with a futures trader, and he literally set his watch to 61.8. It's like every single time it was tagged, you knew that he was in there taking the trade. Very typical institutional type trader in the crude oil markets. And of course, do you remember what we call him? I don't know if you remember him or not.
Mountain Man.
Yeah, Brandon. And he actually looked like a mountain man. It's funny, actually. I used to show people online his picture, and he literally looked like a mountain man. I've had a hard time finding those pictures, though. I think he was like, "Why is my picture on the internet? Get that goddamn picture off of there." Anyway,
If I keep growing out this beard, it might be me soon.
he got yeah. Well, yeah, but he's one of those guys who could actually get dimensional growth on his beard.
Yeah,
Like you
mine's
can
too
see with me,
patchy.
I'm like totally one dimensional, right? It's just totally flat. But he'd actually be able to grow it out like dimensionally.
Yeah,
Anyway,
one day maybe.
yeah, when we grow up, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Uh,
All right, so there's your
so
picture, trade location. If you want to buy, I'd keep a close eye out for 27 bucks somewhere in that area. We went through a pretty typical. Um, how do we say this? Actually, I would say that this actually was very atypical. And unfortunately, this is a little bit bothersome. The fact that we rallied into the end of the year actually is not a good sign for what 2024 is going to be like. And actually, we've done a whole bunch of January barometer study, and there's an old expression in the market: as January goes, so goes the year. And the January barometer is not looking very happy. And then also too, if you look at typical U.S. election year performance, generally speaking, the first I don't know, let's say 8 or 9 months of the election year is usually not really anything to write home about. So what this says to me is, just as this big W here, it pretended for a bull run. And the bull run was kind of muted. This M here pretends for a bear run. I would expect all of these markets to be relatively weak into, like what should happen, like especially with the Bitcoin happening. I don't know whether, I think we've
like
talked about it before.
April 18th, April 20, somewhere
All
mid
right.
to late April.
Right. So, but usually what happens with Bitcoin is it rallies about a month or so ahead of the event, and then it actually kind of swoons into the event, and then out the other side you usually get some sort of trough. So I do like the idea of some sort of, and I think in this case it would be a bottom maybe coming in through middle of February, middle of March. There's, usually we have, and actually it's interesting because they're having events right around 420, eh?
Yep.
Or yeah, 420.
Yep.
Usually the market's relatively happy through that period a year. So I
Usually.
don't know, but given the fact that we rallied into the end of the year, that's usually not a good sign. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, that this thing's just stuck in a massive trading range until we get out the other side of the summer. And then also to remember, Brian's birthday. Usually assets are kind of weak through that period. And as I think I said this to you, right? I actually heard people coming up with just absolutely insane upside objectives for crypto and Bitcoin and stuff, meaning that they've already bought, they are long, and of course they're just expressing their hopes and dreams for price appreciation, right?
Hmm.
If somebody isn't long, then they're not going to give you some outlandish upside price target, right? Because what's the point? They're not long,
Yeah.
so it's not like they're going to get rich. People only do that after they've bought, and they're full of course, hopium, right? And
Yeah.
and they're hoping that, of course, the thing makes them rich, right? I mean, that's the way it always goes. So, specifically with regard to this one, I think you're, very simply put, bulls are very active. I'm a bull, look at me. Bears are very active. I'm a bear, look at me. So as a result, bottom end of the range, top end of the range, I think that this thing's parked for the next little while.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for that
Um,
knowledge there.
I mean, I could go on with more, but should we move on to the next
Yeah,
one?
we'll move on to the next one.
All right.
We'll get to some of these ones in chat. We do have one here, that guy on Twitter, Crypto Krill. Shout out to him. Always posting our stuff and retweeting us, but ONT Ontology. So Special shout out to
ONT.
Crypto Krill. They're always sharing our show and responding.
All right. You see all the ON.
ONT on slash USDT on Binance. Let's take a look there. That's got the highest volume I'm
And the
looking at.
problem here, of course, is you and I, we can't be on Binance, right?
Yeah. It's down.
Binance US.
Uh, go up to like five
Oh,
to
there it
Binance.
is.
Yeah,
That
there
one
we
there,
are.
you think? Or
Yeah.
one, two, font. No,
Front, yeah.
font. That one there, eh?
And we've had people ask if we can switch, if users can switch back to the old way of viewing it, where it's by exchange. You can do that in your settings, uh, where it's just like the list of exchanges, and you can click on the exchange directly. You
Ah.
can do that. So we did bring that back. It's just able to be done in your settings.
Okay.
Doesn't Binance doesn't want to load, I guess.
We've got the green light here.
Yeah. Gone.
You
KuCoin
can see
maybe?
it is moving. It's just it's really slow, and I don't know whether it's my browser. I did update Brave, so that made it happier. But you know we've run into this
Yeah.
before, so sometimes if I just flip back between tabs, sometimes I can
Yeah,
get
I've
it to
got
a
it up
little
here
fast.
on
Yeah,
my Google Chrome and it loaded right away. Here we
I
go.
think you've said that you don't.
It's
Actually,
loaded now.
oh yeah, okay. That would happen. No, so okay, so we got it here. Okay, so once upon a time in a land far,
Yeah.
far away. Again, and you know, now that you've worked with me
Yeah.
through a cyclic bottom, and then seeing the bottom come in, and enjoying a little bit of a rally window.
Yeah.
Hopefully now you sort of look at this because what we're going to see is time and time again, every time we look at these ideas, notice the end of October, beginning of November, the whole
Yeah.
risk market lifted. So I think this is exactly the same as the stock market. It's exactly the same as that name that we were just looking at. This right, basically
Yeah.
through the end of October, beginning of November, the whole market pivoted. So you can clearly see where the bottom on this ONT is. Um, you know, actually, this is kind of a cute one because you can see there were multiple stabs against this bottom level area.
Hmm.
I might, you know, one way you might consider this is like an atom, and this is it's kind of sloppy, but like an Eve.
Eve.
That often is the case with these bottoms. You know, coming off of the peak, has this thing got any room to move up here? Well, I'd say
Yes,
so.
I'd say so.
So, you know, this is a perfect analogy of how absolutely insane these cyclic peaks get. So, you know, if anything, hopefully you and I are working together and we can go through the whole cycle and you see how absolutely crazy this stuff is. And what
It'd
you
be
have to do is you have to acknowledge when people are like, hey, everybody's getting rich and all that kind of stuff, that's when you can't buy. You have to force yourself to come in and buy these bottoms down here. This was tough. Like I even said on the site video today, there were a bunch of W's that came in there at the end of October, and I just was frozen. I couldn't pull the trigger. I don't know why. There's a bunch that I did buy, but man, I missed a lot of really good trades.
I know it's seeing some of these now. I bought a little bit and stuff, but nothing that you kick yourself, but
Yeah,
when
well,
you got
hindsight's
it.
always 2020, right? So.
Exactly.
Okay, so a little bit bigger perspective. That's not a bad W there. You know, maybe more like a clothesline W. So if we change that to a line chart, you can see the clothesline. And, you know, the interesting thing is looking at these kind of names. I mean, ironically enough, where should this thing... And what should be sort of our knee jerk, keep it simple, stupid, dead cat bounce, objective, all markets should move to this level at
The
some
first
point.
stop target, the
Yeah,
38.2.
yeah. So, and then of course, WD
Got
GAN
the
50% levels.
50%.
So, there's sort of your dead cat bounce window if this thing actually ever does get going again. So you can see there's still quite a bit of room to go. I might argue that what we're doing right now is we're trying to break this downtrend, right? Um, and what do we want to see on the other side of this downtrend line now?
A W.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can zoom in, you can see that the break of the trend line, we just basically went straight up. I mean, you could say, well, Brian, isn't that a W and stuff? And I'd go, no. I mean, really, what I want to see is I want to see a nice, well-defined W, right? That just says,
Yeah.
yep, this thing has actually bottomed. I mean, I suppose you could have forced the issue and said that's a W. Um,
So
so it is kind of interesting how this little bottom right here and then this bigger one, this all came in on the underside of the W. So, I mean, would I fault you if you said, well, Brian, I bought that W there? I wouldn't fault you. But what I would say is, can we get a nice reload zone pullback? This actually might be like the other one.
I was gonna say,
Where
and that if you did buy that W, that's at 18, so you get that shot off at 36.
Yeah, well, and why do you think this thing actually stopped
Exactly.
where it did? It
Because
was
of that
probably
W.
because these guys were all like, all right, time to let them have half of it so we can establish a risk free trade. It's remarkable how consistent this is. And of
Really
course, all the
is.
kids in crypto absolutely hate when I point this out because 9 times out of 10, if I'm posting a banging out doubles tweet, then it means we're probably pretty close to this thing stopping.
Hmm.
I mean, I did it today. I think I was. Can
You
we get?
posted the one the other day, and like the next day, you
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, it's a remarkable on the. Are we allowed to look at Solana coins yet on Coinigy?
not yet.
All right.
We're
Should I show
talking
you on
about
the
it.
other platform?
Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
I
I'd
think
love to
this
see
is on.
Bird
Is it
Eye.
Bird's Eye or something like that? It's some crazy
Yeah,
ass name for these
Bird something
exchange.
eye. Yeah,
Um, over here.
birdeye.so.
So these are the funny names that I'm playing over on Solana, up and down like a horse drawers. But yeah, so here was my buy. This is off a 4 hour chart. So whenever I see an asset that goes screaming up and then comes all the way right back down to the bottom, what do you think broad the odds are Brian's hunting for some sort of W down in here to get long?
Pretty high.
Right? So that's basically what this trade was. Because you gotta love crypto. I mean, this is absolutely insane price action here. Look at this. This is nuts. You can't even see what I'm doing down here now. So it comes right out of the gate, just goes absolutely crazy to the upside. And then in typical venture cap, and this is why you can't fall in love with this stuff, is it literally comes exactly right back down to where they originally brought the damn thing out. Like, woohoo, I'm rich, I'm gonna buy a mansion in Beverly Hills. No, you're not. Sorry. Get back to work. McDonald's is calling.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful?
Yep.
So down at the bottom, Brian's in there, just going. Is there any chance if I go and buy some down here that I can get any kind of rally? I mean, look at the size of that wick right there. That's what she said, right?
Yeah.
Is there any chance I can get some sort of rally to sell half on a double and establish a risk-free trade? So that's basically what this is. Market comes down, works back up, comes down, double bottom there. W after just lower highs and lower lows, total nightmare. And there's my buy, 78.6. This is everything that I show you guys. And
Yeah.
that on all of these Coinigy videos, it's exactly the same logic. So, there's the double bottom. There's the double bottom breakout level. Let the market rally. Draw your reload zones. Get your bids working in reload zones and see if you can get filled. So we got filled. Thing goes absolutely nuts. Boom. Right into my double level. And then you notice it's just stopped on a dime. I
Yep.
now have a risk-free position here because I bought, sold half on a double, and you tell me. I mean, this is, and I mean, there's so many damn zeros here you can't even count. I think this is 4 zeros, so it goes 0.00008, and I bought at 0.00003. So I sold half at 0.00006, in that area. In fact, actually, what was the number? 75, right? And I mean, the irony of all of this is that I mean, where's the 38.2 on something like this? I could bang out 100x on this thing. Keep in mind, I have the free position now. I have no risk on this. I can't lose. If this thing goes off the board, so what? I got my original capital back, right? So
Yeah.
and you know, it was funny. I went down to Vegas years ago with this cute little girl, and she was all like, "Oh my God, gamble, 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 gamble." And I stood there and I watched her gamble money away, just throwing money away. And I was like, why bother doing this? I mean, technically, I'm gambling here with this. I mean, anytime you come into the market and you play speculatively, you are gambling to all intents and purposes. But, can you see how the odds are so tilted in my favor when you gamble this way? So here we are. Where the hell's there, roughly? If I get a move back to 38.2, that represents a 4,600% move higher here.
Unreal.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
hey, maybe these guys reinvented the wheel and this thing's actually legitimate. If we go back up and, candle body highs or trade location, right? And all we do is we test the highs. That's 11,000% return.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
Nuts.
expecting that. But do you see how powerful of a position I'm in?
Yeah.
And this is the way the capitalists play the game. And yet trying to get the public to do this is like pulling teeth. So I'm in the most enviable position you could possibly be in right now. And this one name, I put 5% of my fun little stake I have in Solana into this. I've already got that money back. And this one name, it could very easily go 100x from here. No problem. And that the remaining 25 or 5% in the portfolio, that might actually represent my whole portfolio going up like 5x, if this
Yeah.
thing goes 100x on me here. And that's the way you kill the market.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point that
Unreal.
I just make here is that and I used to always see this in previous venture cap cycles. So what do you think the odds are there were other people that bought this bottom here, and they are also doing exactly the same thing I'm doing, selling half on a double, establishing that risk-free trade, and does it make sense why the rally stopped right at that double level? And it has to sort of absorb all of the selling.
Makes sense.
And then if I really wanted to participate again, this is a good example where I would call this trade, I would call this my first car. You ever heard me talk about cars?
Yep.
All right. So there's your first car, and he's on the books now. And he's bought and paid for. And he's basically a free position. I have my original capital back. Now, because I have my original capital back, I could go take my original capital and I could go and buy a second car. Does that make sense?
It does. So
And
then
where am I likely going to want to buy
in
that
the
second
reload
car?
zone.
In the reload zone. So you can see if we draw our reload zones, oh, what a surprise. 78.6 is nothing more than buying this W. And so actually we call this setup on this site in our education program, we call this the shark setup, where you identify market structure, and if you draw your fib and 78.6 lines up with that market structure, this is a shark trade, right? And so I would work my bid and try and buy my second car from this level. So I got one car from here, and I'll take my original capital and I'll go buy a completely new car off of this level. Does that make sense?
Does.
That's in fact, why don't we even try and do that? We'll see if we can over time. Let's see. And what we used to do, and just FYI, if you're watching this and you're like, does this guy have any credibility in me actually listening to what the hell he's talking about? I mean, if you want, you can hunt down Trex and get the actual account data. Good luck. But basically, I posted. In fact, actually, all you got to do is go back and watch all the Coinigy shows because all of the Coinigy shows were recorded, right?
Yes, sir. They're still on
So,
our YouTube channel. Same folder as all of these ones on our
yeah.
channel.
So, but I put on the front page of my Twitter feed, this was the kind of fun thing that it's doing these first car, second car, third car. And ideally, what you want is kind of like what we saw with that the ONT, right? I think that was the one.
Yep.
If you can get on a whole bunch of these cars, oops, that's not the page we want. Where did the Coinigy page
It might
go?
be if you minimize this screen
I think
that
it's
you
that
got
one,
up there.
right? If you can get on a bunch of cars and let's say you bought some here, sold half on a double, bought it back, so you got a couple cars on. Maybe you did this 2 or 3 times, right? You can see the W here, bought, sold half on a double, bought a second car, sold half on a double maybe, bought a third car, sold half on a double, that kind of thing. What
Huh.
ends up happening is when you get the big blow off top, ideally what you'd love to have is a situation like this where you've got a whole bunch of cars all on your car carrier, and it's not just one car that pays you. It could be like you have 10 different positions on, all from that one purchase, that one little chunk of
And
money
that
that you had to work with. But every time you could sell half on a double, sell half on a triple, whatever, you just throw that bid right back in on reload zones off of the bottom, and then you get a second car. Then it rallies, sell half on a double, so put the bids back in and reload zones, etc., etc., etc. And that is how you get to this kind of stuff where you can take like $500 and turn it into hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, anyway, that was a big sales pitch. I don't know what
I
I
love
just
it.
did. I sell anything? I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
It worked.
so I was having fun today in funny little where are we here in funny little bros, um, and yeah, okay, we'll just leave it at that. I mean, it's a fun anecdote. This is how I keep myself busy while the broader market's kind of correcting as I just go. And the key here is the most important thing out of this whole thing is, can you force yourself to come in and start hunting at the bottom end of trading ranges? You can't chase. For heaven's sakes, you're not allowed to chase. You have to wait for the market to come back down to the bottom end of the range and then get in there and hunt. That's hard to do, folks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Anyway, that's the whole point of our school program. If you want some help, we're here to help you.
Awesome. Well,
Okay,
we
so
got
sorry for getting off on a tangent, but
no,
back to our
no
story.
worries at all. We can keep moving on to some other ones. We got a handful here in the chat.
Well, just to finish this thought, if the person was kind of like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now, Brian? So you can see if you did buy off of this bottom, hopefully you let him have some, get half, sell half on a double, blah, 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 all that kind of talk. It is working its way back down into reload zones. I do like the idea. I've been really warming lately to the idea of actually changing your chart to a logarithmic chart, just so you can see what these bottoms look like. You notice that that became quite a bit more magnified. The only issue here is you have to make sure that your fib study says that it's also based on log scale. So as you
Ah,
can see, it did it by default. It adjusted things, but you just have to make sure that the fib studies have that log scale checkbox. So long and short of it here, you can see how 78.6 lines up basically off this original market structure. So just like the other name, and in a weird sort of way, can you see what kind of harmonic pattern is this potentially developing here? Let's see if you can use your imagination. And keep in mind, as
is
a good technician, you actually have to use your imagination a little
that
bit
the
to try and
Empire
see the
candlestick?
future. Huh?
Is that the Empire candlestick?
Well, that's an empire pattern up there. But I guess what I'm thinking is if we're thinking this market wants to work its way lower, usually, do you remember my comment about the Bank of Canada today and their balance sheet and how nothing ever really moves in one straight line? Usually
Uh-huh.
it's broken into two parts. What do we call that two-part thing? Do you remember? Part one, we go A to
That the
B.
oh uh the
Harmonics? Good
the
answer. Way to
yes,
go.
that's what I said.
All right. So if I go A to B, C to D,
See,
and if it makes it easier for you to see this, I like to do this where I literally clone this line and then drag it over the top so I know for certain exactly where that next level is. But you could, if you wanted to, in the drawing tools, you can come down here and like you can see them all. There's A, B, C, D. So you could take this and go A to B and then up to here, C, and then eyeball it to D. That's basically what that's drawing. Can you see that?
yep.
That is called a harmonic. So, point of the matter here is just eyeballing this. This is where it looks like the market wants to go to. What do you think the odds are that if we throw on an 88.6, that's probably down in that level? And look at that. It's pretty close, eh?
Yeah.
So the market itself, if this is the high and we start to break down, make lower highs and lower lows, the market itself is actually telling you exactly where it wants to go. Basically right back down against all these lows.
Looks right at that big old tail.
There is a fairly large tail. You can see how, in fact, actually, you might even argue you see there's a cute little tail right in there.
Yeah.
So that's where they, them, those people, the 1%, and notice that level isn't very far away. And what do you think the odds are that if we did a fib from here back down to here? Oh, what a surprise, that is right at Brian's favorite fib there, right? See that? So,
Mhm.
like, I think the bottom of this market is basically 1,500 to about 15, what does that say, 90? So, really, you want to throw you, and notice 88.6, 1564. Are my old eyes deceiving me? That's probably where the floor is on this thing. So, is there value in here? I don't think so. Uh, Now, what would we need to see if this was a trend continuation trade? Maybe this thing is, but what would I need to see here?
Trend continuation. Uh
Yeah.
W.
Okay, well, that's a start. How about a W within a W, or like
Yes.
three higher lows? So maybe, this is a floor, right? And all the smart money has established this as the new floor. What I would need to see is I would need to see a successive pattern of higher lows here. And that three higher lows, right? What is that? What kind of setup does that set up? What kind of
One
setup
sec.
does that set
I'm
up?
taking note. Give me 1 second.
Hint, hint, hint. I will throw on, if it's here,
There we go.
33% and
Oh, the
66%.
bot setup.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Sorry, I
there's
was taking notes.
33% of the range. There's 66% of the range. We don't really want to see if this is a bot and it's a trend continuation trade. We don't really want to see it go down below here. So see how it like came into that 33 but did not go beyond 66?
Mm-hmm.
And then that means that maybe we have a harmonic pattern to the upside. But for me to believe that, I have to start seeing all of these higher highs and higher lows. So, and that is, right, we want to see 25 and 50 and 66. And we want to flip that around so it looks something like that. So you can see dead cat bounce off of the lows. They rallied it right back to our 25 level. If this is a bull, then what we should see is we come back down against these lows and test these lows. That would create a trend line, a potential trend line. We really don't want to see this thing broken. But notice if we can then get on the other side of the trend line and put in a W on the other side of the trend line with three higher lows, then I can actually justify starting to think, well, maybe this is a bullish trend continuation trade, and that is our harmonic, but this time going to the upside. A to B, C to D. So, as it stands right now, I mean, you can see where the original bottom is. I'd call this the value window down here. If we're thinking value, then we just want to be patient and disciplined, wait for the market to come back down into reload zones. And really, I might even argue wait for that, sort of 1600 to 1800 kind of idea, that window down in there, the 78.6. Maybe we can even go off of here, right down in here. If, however, this is a bull, and hey, god damn it, we're a bull and we're heading higher, then ideally what you want to see, of course, is W's in all the indicators. Do we have any W's here yet at all? No, nothing really. So I think what you really need to do is just be patient. If you can get those 3 higher lows and higher highs and we start seeing W's, then you can start drawing things like AB equals CDs to take us up top. But until you actually see that, I think you have to be thinking that it wants to work its way back down into reload zones down below here. Okay.
Beautiful.
Said my piece on that. In fact, actually, we could probably even... No, I haven't said my piece. That, psych. You could draw a trend line off of that low and that low, which is confirmed by that market structure. And you can see we really should get... If this thing just corrects normally and it's just a normal seasonal pullback, we get something that looks like that. Okay. I think I've said my piece on that thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So next one, let's keep it rolling. We did have Noam Chomsky asking about this one, Rune. This one we talked about months ago, and it really went on a tear. Rune to USDT on Binance, they specifically requested.
Yeah, TRI's done pretty well on this one. We have CTO, Sjorn. Have you ever talked to Sjorn?
I have not.
Yeah, we should probably bring you guys, him maybe on one of these shows. The problem is he's awesome. In Europe.
He's on a different time zone, right?
Well, he's in Europe, so right now it's like the middle of the night. So interesting. This is a chart looking at logarithmic scale. Now you tell me. I mean, we really, we don't need to bullshit about this.
Yeah. So they did specifically say still a bit high, but seeking an entry position.
Yeah.
So,
so if anything, this is one of the reasons why I do like looking at these from log scale, because you can see that this thing has come an awful long way.
It really has.
If we change it to regular scale, it'll look like it just like straight spikes straight to the moon here. Boom. So, and as a good technician, unfortunately, you have to have the patience and discipline to look at this and say, well, if I wanted to buy, that was $1. So here we are at $4. That's like literally, if I went and I had $1,000 and I went and invested in this, you could easily see that $1,000 go right back down to $250 to $500. And how would you feel? I bet you wouldn't feel very good.
No, you would not.
If we just do a really simple trend line off of the logarithmic scale, I think that's probably a pretty good support line right there. Boom, boom. Didn't even have the magnet on. I just sort of eyeballed it, but something along those lines there. I think that's pretty real. Oh, come on, you. Oh, look at that. It's fighting me. Anyway,
there we go.
There. All right. So that suggests about maybe $2 as trendline support. If we do a fib and we just simply say, I need to see at least this and no more than this if this is a trend continuation pattern. What were those numbers?
So it would, the first stop target 38.2 and then 5.
Well, we can start there and just
the
simply
50%
say,
retracement.
Just what should I expect naturally should just happen anyway, and that's that 38.2 to 50%. We have we could like to call it the call-in pump chaser zone. It's a fun little name on the site that we have. I also, in the education program, I call this the first stop target. Sometimes, as markets correct, This is sort of your first technical objective, 38.2s, and sometimes it's the last objective. We stop there and then we start consolidating and heading back up. Excuse me. So, there looks like we got this backwards. Let's reverse that. There we go. So, top of the range, bottom end of the range. There's 38.2. There's 50%. Oh, what a big surprise. There is the, what is this? This is 200 period moving average? Yeah, that makes sense. 200 SMA, that's usually a pretty popular support level. So, very first objectives for corrections, back down to $3. And then, this is just WD GAN, keep it simple, stupid. And really, the easy way for all of you to do this, you can do this at any point in time, anywhere. Really, really simple. All you do is you take the high plus the low and divide by 2. And that will always give you the 50% level of any trading range. And this is, when we used to get our price charts in the mail, right? And you were standing what's funny is on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, they have up on a board what the day high and the day low is. And I don't know whether you've ever seen pictures of interviews with floor traders. They're always looking up. They're always looking, okay, what's going on there? Because all of the numbers and all of those charts are all displayed up around the ceiling of the floor of the exchange. So if you ever see it, most of the pits are gone these days. And then also, too, if you look at the actual trading pylons, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. All the information is up, right? It's all on
the tickers.
Displays. Yeah, but they have trading stations around the floor, and it's a pylon, and it's broken into an octagon, and so each side of the 8 sides of the pylon is a different station where 5 or 10 stocks are listed. So if you wanted to buy McDonald's, you go over to the pylon 7, and then you go halfway around the octagon, and there's McDonald's trade station on the floor. But anyway, that's here nor there. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is this is a really easy way for you to do WD GAN. So we've got our high up there, which says 728.5. Of course, always a good idea to make sure that these numbers are correct. And this low is, what does that say, 83 cents? Is there any lower number? 83.4. Oh, there we go, 77.7. Oh, what an interesting coincidence. And what's interesting, too, is you often find that key highs and lows, they happen on really funny numbers like that. So I don't think that's an accident. 777. Somebody clearly wanted the market to stop at that level. So the easy way for you to calculate 50% rules, and any of you can do this, you should be able to do this just on your brain, but of course I'm an old fart, so I'm just going to use a calculator. But 777, which was the low, and then we said the high was what, 728.50, so plus 7.285. So there's your total divided by 2, and there is your 50% rule.
Yep.
That sound about right? I think so. Because this is log scale, I think it's actually not numeric. It's going to be different. So I guess this is WD GAN, not using log scale, but using good old fashioned. All right, so there's your 50% level, 403. What did we say the number was here? 403. Hey, there you go.
Yeah, 4031.
So, I'd also say, too, what type of chart pattern does this look like up here?
M.
Actually, it's a little bit more defined than that.
Oh, head and shoulders.
Yeah. So you can see there's the head and shoulders tool here. So we can go I don't know, let's go off of that low there. So left shoulder, neckline, head, back to the neckline. Notice, that's pretty close to that level there. Shoulder, breakdown. And now you might even, if you were a stickler, say, well, I think that's the shoulder because the neckline's a little bit flatter. And then that becomes your shoulder. Could be, sort of semantics. Point here is to actually come up with a price objective of the head and shoulders. Maybe write this down if you're watching. You take the high and you subtract it off of the neckline. So that's that distance there, that's 728. back down to the neckline here, which was like 490. So that's like what, $2.30, $2.40, and then just replicate this. And I think this primarily, mind you, I've done both log and regular scale, but just keep it simple, stupid for this. We'll use the regular scale, linear scale. Project that distance from the head back to the neckline off of there, and that gives you a price objective of $2.50, which I kind of like because you can see that that would bring us back down into this original bottoming area. And if we have the 78.6 fib line up off of that structural breakout level, look how close that is. What
Yeah.
would we call that setup?
That'd be
No, I mentioned it earlier. Starts with an S.
the
Shark. Sharky shark.
the shark.
So, do we
Must have
have
missed
that?
earlier.
Oh, hello. Look at that. Do you think that's an accident? I don't. So, we've got the head and shoulders itself actually painting a downside objective. We have the most recent original market structure bottom, and in a weird sort of way, this almost looks like, I mean, we don't have the data going back here. I don't know what that looks like. But can you see how this kind of looks like almost the exact opposite of what we had here, where this is like shoulder, oops, shoulder, there we go, neckline, head, shoulder. That looks terrible. Let's see if I can do a better job at that. I'll get rid of the magnifying magnet thing.
Magnet's pulling it all down.
Yeah, but how do you turn it off? I don't know how you turn this thing off. Strong, weak, and how? Just off.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, anyway. Hey. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Making progress.
Sheesh.
Right.
This is supposed to help us look good.
Trying.
I know. That's the Coinigy's fault. Something going on.
Well, it's a combination of. I think we've said this before. I don't think
Brave
Coinigy and
browser
Brave
doesn't.
don't like each other, right? Anyway, what I was trying to show you was this kind of, and actually there you can see. See, the thing is, I don't know if it might be just busy loading the data here, and that's probably why it's kind of slowed down here. But anyway, what I wanted to try and point out was this kind of looks like a head and shoulders down here. And interestingly enough, if we did like a log scale down here, you'd see it, yeah, there, a lot better. Let's just put this off for a second. So, let's see if we can do this. Fingers crossed. I just don't know how to get that magnet to turn off. Usually all you do is just click it and it goes away. I don't know why it won't go off. But anyway, so something like shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, roughly, shoulder, breakout.
Yep.
So in a weird sort of way, you can actually kind of see why this thing rallied the way that it did. This is the one reason why I like really using log scale. Is you can actually see that in numeric terms it's not that big of a move, but in log scale terms that's a really really big growth. So then we go like that, and we go like that, and so you can see, oh, what a surprise. So the head and shoulders objective to the upside, you can see how the market ran right into that. We could probably also do things like And that means that we should be able to do, let's keep it simple. We'll go here to here. And we'll go 2.618 and 4.669. All right, so you can see we hit 2.618. I might be inclined just to work with that. So interesting how down the road we probably still could work our way up top here. The only issue with Foggenbaums is just which one do you use. So
Yeah.
interesting if I go off of that low to the breakout, notice that did run into 4669 right there, nice and politely. Probably also we could do the Foggenbaum off of here, and that's like 877. So let's see. And then we'll go like that. And we'll go. There's
And for
16.
those just tuning in, he does explain this Foggenbaum and like chaos theory in a series tutorial that are you can find on our channel.
Yeah,
Uh,
actually, came up with some price objectives like 6, 8 months ago. I
and
mean, we did that a long time ago, right?
yeah, it was
Actually, it'd be
coming up on a
interesting to
year
look
ago. I
at the
think it was
date.
last February.
It
It
was
was
a
February.
year
I
ago,
want to say
right?
February 18th. I've looked at him recently. It's funny. I actually sent those to some of the guys in my MBA program.
I
Yeah,
told you this was gonna happen. I
yeah,
told you. You're gonna have
yeah.
all those fucking NBA guys going, "Hey, I want to be a trader, man."
So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, so someone tried to start like asking for ideas for people to bounce off ideas of like stock pickers and stuff. And I was just like I like sent something. I was like,
Have
oh,
I got a guy to show
and I
you?
told you I was like I encourage you guys to check this out. I wonder if any of them signed up. I sent it this past weekend. I was like it's starting on Monday, but check
There
out
you go.
Brian.
There you
I
go. Well,
sent
I
him your
tell you,
way.
we did have an uptick in students. So maybe those referrals, man. You know what we should do is we have the referral program on the site. I think Stuart's feverishly working away on getting it updated. But if you have referred anybody, Joe, for heaven's sakes, there is you know how this silly
You
internet
teaching me is
nonsense goes.
enough of a referral of
Pardon me?
anything. You giving me your knowledge and doing this show with me is plenty
All right,
for
there you go.
referrals.
And also too, if I'm lucky, I get to crash in an attic if I'm really lucky on
Yes.
on an air mattress.
Yes,
This is
sir.
this is score all around, man. It's so funny because I'm such a cheap ass. I remember when I went to Europe, and I mean, I'm thankful, although I don't know whether it means anything in fucking China, but technically I am a millionaire. Um, and I mean, but these days that doesn't really mean anything. But it's funny how I would like literally go from cities all around Europe. I just wanted to crash on people's couches. And
Cheaper.
I know I had a couple mothers and parents and stuff go, this guy's teaching you trading, and yet he won't even pay for a hotel room. He wants to just crash on your couch.
That's how you
Like, what
stay rich.
the hell? So I'm a weirdo this way. So go figure.
Too funny.
Anyway, back to our story. Hopefully, you can understand why this ruin went to where it did. And inverted head and shoulders, all that kind of fun stuff. And with the backdrop of why this thing acted the way that it did and where it went, that means that we should be able to look at the price action here and understand why and where this thing's telling us it wants to go in the future. So we could probably actually do like a Foggenbaum off the top here. And, there's 4669s. Actually, I do like that. A revisit of the trend line. Reload zones. As we said, shark setups. So whoever's asking on social media, not a big surprise. 2.618s are lining up with 200 SMAs. And as we said there a few minutes ago, we could probably, we can just adjust this. That probably also lines up with like 38.2. And 50% levels, so there's 50%, there's 38.2. Yeah, so you can see 2.618 and 38.2 against this key low here, so that's probably a good first stop. If this is trend continuation, then we want to see it correct how much, but no more than how much, Joe?
Um, between 38.2 and 50% in the
66%. Nice try.
and
So the point here is 38.2. If we did correct to this 2.618, did
gotcha.
correct to this 38.2, did test this low, then that would mean by definition that we've done at least the 33% correction. And if we've done the 33% correction, but we haven't gone beyond 66, then that means that the bot comes alive. So that's
Makes
like
sense.
33 here and 66, and we can get rid of that and get rid of that and get rid of that and get rid of that. So if we're thinking bot, we need to see at least 33, but no more than 66. Which would mean that if we came down, ironically enough, even if we came down to 2.618, then we had to go all the way down to 4669, we still wouldn't break that 66. And it's interesting how that 66 also lines up nicely with that little W bottom right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I'm thinking that the market's heading down, and actually we did this for the past year or so, thinking the market heading up, right, like Bitcoin and stuff, and we're making lower highs and lower lows here, what do we say? We say these two words both start with the same letter.
If they're making
If we're
bear
heading down and we're
down,
thinking, where is this thing likely to stop? We want to do this. Two words, both start with the same letter.
we want to
Both is the letter L. Second letter is, first word is O.
little lady.
L.
Look
L.
left for
There you go. Look
look
left. I
left
think
for
I
the
heard it. I think
institution.
I heard it.
God, you said it, basic. Look left for visual evidence where the institution
All
stopped.
right. So can you see how this low here, that technically is an institutional fingerprint.
Yeah,
Somebody stopped the market going down here and they turned it back up. So this is this look left concept. Notice,
yeah.
look at the little magnet thing. It's gone now. Isn't that weird how it's popping in and out there? Oh, now it won't come back. It hates me now. All right. Anyway, so look left. We can draw a line right off of that. Look how it lines up with 2.618. And look how it lines up with a 200 SMA.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that's definitely a short-term objective here, which kind of sucks if you're long Rune, because this is 417 right now, and I'm saying this thing's about to lose $1. Ouch.
Yeah.
But, lower highs and lower lows. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us?
Wants to take your money.
So I don't think anybody, in a head and shoulders by definition actually does have a smile built into it. And we said by definition, WD GAN, keep it simple, stupid,
50%.
markets should retrace 50%. That's just what they do. And so, there is our 50% level. This is the log scale adjusted. Remember that. But, we even said just off of the regular linear scale, that's like $4, which would be about 30%, 30 cents lower than where we are now anyway. So, put it all together. Market definitely looks toppy. I mean, if you bought some off of the bottom, for God's sakes, I sure hope you paid yourself. That's the whole
Mm-hmm.
point of this exercise, is to make these capital gains. I can't tell you how many times, Joe, and I guarantee it's going to happen this cycle too. Somebody will have the, we'll call it the intestinal fortitude to buy down here. You ever heard that expression before? What's another way of saying intestinal fortitude?
I'm not sure.
The guts,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The guts to come in and buy at the bottom. They'll see this thing go absolutely insane, right? Because that's, even from this 70,
10x.
80 cents, that's a 10x move. And they'll be like, look how rich I am. I'm a man. I'm the player. They won't sell a damn freaking thing. And then the thing will work its way all the way right back down to the bottom. And it's sort of like, I thought you were rich. Oh, yeah, but I never bothered taking any profits. You can't. Oh god, you can't tell you how many times I've seen that in my career.
Yep. So I sell
So,
half on a double.
well, and that's why they sell half on a double. It's not so much that I have an opinion that it's going to double and that's it. It's more like, look at, can I change the narrative here? I do not want to get into the business of predicting what is going to happen. Because frankly speaking, nobody can predict the future. I can
Hmm.
absolutely guarantee you there was not a single person around when this thing was sitting at 80, 90 cents that said within 6 months this thing will be 10x this price. I mean, there are a lot of people that maybe had opinions, but, everybody's got an opinion and we all know how they smell.
Yeah.
So the issue here is sell half on a double changes the narrative from I'm not going to predict where this thing's going to top out. I'm going to go into money management mode. And when my money doubles, I'm going to take my original capital out of the market so I don't
Risk-free
have any
trade.
risk. What's an easy way for me to mentally wrap my head around that process? Oh,
Selling.
I know. If the price doubles, I sell half, which just gives me my original money back. It's very simple. Don't overthink this stuff. Because usually, where most people fail in this game of trading and investing for that matter, is they make this way too complicated. They overthink this stuff. All right, there's an old expression in the market, KISS. How does that go?
What? What the adage in the market? KISS? I don't know if we've talked about this one.
Keep
Oh, keep it
it.
simple, stupid.
But
Or we
if
have.
it's so funny.
You
You
haven't told
listen
me
to
that
like political.
abbreviation,
Pardon
but
me.
I get it. You haven't explained that or called it that abbreviation, but now I get it.
Keep it simple, stupid. And then
The
like the politically
50%.
correct people, they go, "Oh, it stands for keep it simple, silly," or whatever. But of course, I'm old school, so we're I use
Yep.
stupid a lot. So anyway,
That's fine.
I don't know whether we talk this into the ground, but I think you have a pretty good idea of what I'm thinking. And if this thing does get back down into things like 4669s, back down into these original bottoming levels, I'm more than happy to go and buy it. But here, can't touch it. Do
Gotcha.
do 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 do.
Can't touch it. Awesome. Well, we actually do have a handful of requests in the audience now. We got about 30, 40 minutes left.
Are you
Going through.
enjoying yourself? Are you having a
I
good
am.
time? All right.
I am.
How are the YouTubers doing? I don't even want to check in with them because, I mean, other than to find out whether the audio's okay. But I hope you're interacting with them
Adam,
and they're feeling like they're getting some value out of this.
I am. I'm trying to do that. So we got let's take a look at Matt Moon has been with us all show. Let's take XMR.
XMR, that sounds like
Monero.
Monero, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one I haven't looked at in a while. This was
Yeah, this
when I
is
first
old
started at
school.
Coinigy about coming up on like 6.5 years ago. Um, I see you're got the red dot in the corner there.
Oh, it
Oh,
just went
green.
green.
There we go. But when I first started at Coinigy back in the day, and that was 2017, this was kind of a big, I thought this was like a huge cryptocurrency. That was when I was first really starting to get into it because this was like December of 2017, or sorry, like August, and then it was into that pump. And this coin really was taking off, and now I'm looking at it over on my side, and it got all the way up to like 450 bucks.
Yeah, I
And
remember these. I think this is one of the anonymous coins, isn't it? XMR, Monero, I think it is.
let me
So there was
see.
a while there where anonymous names were super, super popular. Where do we want to look at this? Binance, Kraken,
See
KuCoin.
KuCoin
What do you
because
feel like? Ladies' choice.
I see something that Binance to delist these four trading pairs on January 19th.
Wow, they're gonna kill XMR, eh? Jesus.
I don't know. I'm seeing this is on Coin Market Cap. There, yeah, delisting. No, I don't know why it's getting pulled up. DAR, DEXE, ID, and POS. So never mind. I don't know. It must be mentioned in this article. On January 4th, it placed Monero and other cryptocurrencies on its monitoring tag list, where they'll be subject to regular reviews. Not complying with the necessary criteria might result in their eventual delisting.
That wouldn't surprise me, right? Because if it's one thing that Big Brother down in the States wants to do, is they want to kill this whole sort of anonymous stuff. Remember there was I think it was like a Tumblr or something like that, a
Hmm.
mixer where you could like totally sort of cover up all of your tracks in crypto. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, it was very popular, and the regulators down in the states just came down like a ton of bricks on them. And if this is still a anonymous play, and I've noticed that the anonymous coins they just haven't done a hell of a lot. You're probably going to see that they're going to have a bit of a tough go of it. Fortunately, we don't really have that much data, and unfortunately, we're looking at this
Yeah.
versus USDT because
Binance.
you
Mhm.
don't. It does really doesn't do it justice because like if we look at this versus say Bitcoin, you can see how absolutely
Yeah.
insane these things were. I mean, back in the day, these things. I mean, yeah. So this is versus Bitcoin. Look how high this thing was. This is 2017. So this is when you first got in the space.
Yeah, I joined Coinigy in August of 2017.
Yeah, so July, August, that was all in here. So at that point, this was like zero point 0.3 BTC, and now we're at 0.003. So this has gone 100x in the other direction, which is kind of sad. But again, like I said, I think this is purely a function of the fact that these were like anonymous coins.
Yeah.
And, like you're kind of playing with fire here because, in essence, they're kind of thumbing their noses at the regulators. And, I
Here,
mean,
check
how
out
often.
slash USD on Kraken. There's data that goes way back there.
All right, Kraken. Release the Kraken. What movie is that from?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, it might be. I've never seen that movie. Anyway. Okay, so there's your 2017-18 peak. Interesting.
So yeah, that was about when I was joining it. So this was like a big buzz.
Yeah, and
That's
you
one
can
that
see. I mean, look at it. It was a big buzz, eh?
yeah.
Um,
$100 all the way up, or sorry, what was that? Like $9 all the way up to 450.
yeah. So, what is that? 10. It looks like the double bottom there was about $13. So up to 400. Jesus. So that's 10x. That's about 50x or so. Not bad.
Yeah.
And through all this period, there was a whole bunch of them. In fact, there was one name I was thinking about the other day, but I can't remember the name of it now. And one guy, and actually, this is an interesting thing because on the site, I've asked for a number of sort of volunteers where I think this is the time when you want to really, if you're into this, and you can make a full time job of this, is just go start establishing all of these wallets for the airdrops. This is the part of the cycle where you want to go and get all of this shit all together. And all of these airdrops and stuff like this, they might make you fucking rich. Excuse my French. So just be aware of it. This is the window right now to get this going. And I've had 2 or 3 people on the TRI site actually reach out and say, all right, Brian, for your guidance as to which wallets we should set up, in exchange, we'll set up wallets for TRI and let's all go and just own this airdrop market. So for the next year or so, if you really want to get rich at this game, all you people watching this, all 10 of you, get off your butts and get those wallets for these airdrops up and running because it's free money.
Yeah.
And every cycle, the same damn thing happens. So, all right, back to this story here.
Someone said maybe Zcash he's referring to. Zcash was another one that was
Yeah,
also.
and that was all this same time. There was a whole bunch
Yeah.
of Z coins. There was like 3 or 4 of them, right? And
Yeah.
I remember one coin when it launched. Some guy was running an algorithm, a bot, on it, and he bid the damn thing up. The algorithm went crazy, and he bid it up to like 3,000 Bitcoin for
Oof.
one of these Z coins. You can just
Unreal.
imagine how much money that was. It's an absolutely insane amount of money. And he literally went bankrupt.
Yeah.
You shouldn't laugh at the guy, the poor guy. But it just goes to show, don't
Greed.
just blindly believe that these computers will make you rich. The computers might get you into a lot of trouble if you let them loose. All right, so looking at this name, this is on Kraken. This is your daily chart. I suppose the one thing that I do like about this image is what do we call it when you see price sort of settle into a trading range for a prolonged period of time?
That called markets like ranging. Isn't it just that?
Um,
Markets range
Very
70 to
specific
80%
name.
of the time.
And the name
Coiling?
goes NSCH, like that. Well, what the heck is Brian referring to when he says NSCH?
SCH. That's a new one. What I'm gonna have to break out the handy dandy notebook here. Well, it's
All
been
right.
out, but time to add
Stands
two.
for narrow, sideways. What do you think this last word is?
Channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a new concept.
So if you ever see that NSCH, narrow sideways channel, that's basically what I see happening here. So the rules of narrow side, and keep in mind this thing's gone sideways basically since when? July 22. So that's like a year and a half. This thing has done absolutely nothing here. As you said, I think I heard you say that they're on like double secret probation or something right now, right?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like from at least on
Right.
from finance. They're talking yeah,
So if
got the
they're
slap on the
on double
wrist.
secret probation and they get themselves into hot water, you can see this thing's got a long way to fall down to zero, eh?
Hmm.
So, caveat emptor. This is half the reason why we have things like the rule number 2. What's Brian's second rule of investing?
It is you have to the 5% and then take an algorithmic approach.
All right. So my question was, what is Brian's second rule of investing?
Um, it is the never risk more than 5% of your trade.
Never risk more than 5% of your stake or what you
Stake
have to
in, yeah,
work
sorry,
with
on any single trade.
on
Sorry.
any single idea. It could be a trade, it could be an investment. Just don't ever break that rule. If you follow that rule, it's very very difficult to go bankrupt in this business. The only problem is nobody ever follows the rules. So, if you want to take 5% of your stake and throw it at this name, it has a W here working. You could technically say, that is a W. So, I'll take a shot on that. Then I don't mind that. Is this something that it's going to get me really excited, that it's compelling, that it's something that's probably going to moon and make us rich? I don't know. I mean, this thing might just sit here and go sideways for another 2 years. You don't know.
Hmm.
And it's not really like it's in the best trade location. I mean, if I want to short, then I want to think reload short zones. All right. So that's and really venture cap. Why don't we do? We'll do venture cap reload zones. So 78.6 to 88.6. So that means I want to think about shorting up here, and that would sort of be that kind of thinking. If I want to buy, well, that means I probably want to think reload long zones. So that means, Brian as a cheap ass, I want to short against the top end of ranges up there, and I want to buy against the bottom ends of ranges here. So we're not really an either or. There was actually a pretty good shorting window up there. And that's what that rally was, and then the subsequent failure. And we're nowhere near a buying window. So you can't really say this thing's cheap. What I
Yeah.
would say is this is probably like, okay, you're gonna place a bet that this is trend continuationing. Trend continuation, we want to see how much of a move at minimum, but no more
Three,
than this move maximum.
the 33% and
Right?
66%.
So there's 33, there's 66, so it has settled in there. So that means that if we do a bot setup here, then we're going to go something like that. And then we're going to throw on the 25 level as our entry. 50, we'll move our stop to scratch. At 66, we'll start locking in profits. We'll flip this around. And there's your bot entry, risking against those lows. How much did we say we could risk on this idea of our portfolio without breaking the rules?
No, no more than 5%.
All right, so I really don't have a problem if you wanted to calculate what 5% of your portfolio is, then, maybe just so you're not freaking out, maybe even knock that in half
Yeah.
and buy enough, and that would be like 2.5%. Buy enough that if you did buy, even right here, right now, that if we did go down through this low here, this would represent like a 2.5% loss to your portfolio. I like that thinking. That's not bad. Bot rules. We have 1 kilo, 2 kilos. Jesus, sound like a Coke dealer. 3
Three
kilos,
kilo.
4 kilos, 5 kilos. Better not talk like this when I'm getting on the airplane for El
Yeah, I was
Salvador,
gonna
eh?
say, you're yourself in trouble.
So, could you make an argument that this is, if I bought this W here and basically risked against these lows, this is what I would call front running the bot, because there's the bot entry level there.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, if you can front road, let's say you get long from this level here, this W, and it does start working its way up. Once we hit 50%, which is basically a test of the old highs, then you can start locking in and move your stop to scratch. If you do front run the bot, then even if we do get a pop and then it comes back down and you have to exit at that 25 level, you still actually have a built-in small profit on your trade. So one reason why I kind of like front running the bot, but it does mean that you're taking a bit of a risk here because you don't
Yeah.
even know if the bot level's even fired yet here. So, you're taking a shot. Could we make the argument we get W's on the other sides of trend lines? Yeah, it looks like it. That looks legitimate. You might even argue that maybe this is also a trend line there. So it looks to me like price is actually trapped between these two trend lines. And notice, we're coming up to a very important juncture here. I guess the question you'd have to ask is, are these guys actually doing anything? What's my sort of name? Like, what's the name of my website?
Yeah, it's the rational investor. So
All
you need to
right.
do your technical analysis and your fundamental analysis. So you need to be
So,
doing research on these types of coins, what they provide, what they're actually doing or changing, what problem are they fixing.
yeah. I mean, half of this should be we do see that technically this thing is running out of sellers, and there are some buyers that are coming back in, higher highs and higher lows. So, what's the fundamental story? Why? Why is this happening? Are they working on some new product? Are they working on some, upgrade? Are they, like you said there a second ago, what problem is it that they're trying to solve? If you can't figure out like something that they're actually doing that is actually going to make some sort of material difference, and maybe you might just be sitting on dead money and this thing just goes sideways for another couple of years. You just don't know. So give me a fundamental story, something I can sink my teeth into that makes me feel like, okay, Why are you bullish on XMR? Well, because they're going to undercut Ethereum's what do you call it, gas fees or whatever by
Yeah.
like 80%, and they're a much more efficient network to use than whatever, right? Or something, some story. Give me some reason for me to actually get excited. So there's the technical picture. What's the fundamental picture? And if you get hey, well, this is the fundamental developments. This smart money guy just bought, he plunked in $1 billion. So I'm going to ride his coattails. They've got this new network upgrade coming. And as a result, we're starting to see, what are the indicators indicating? Well, money is still technically flowing into this. So that's a good sign, I suppose. Not really have anything momentum-wise to get too excited about here. Maybe we want to wait for momentum to start perking up here, because what I see here, unfortunately, is there's no bullishness here yet in the short term.
Yep.
And if anything, it looks like we actually have a bearish divergence that developed in the momentum indicators. Can you see that?
I can.
And of course, if we see a confirmed bearish momentum divergence, and we're bulls, what should we do?
Confirmed bearish, and we're bulls. He's gonna wait for the reload zone.
Okay, what's another way of saying waiting?
Cool your jets.
Yeah. So there's a really good example that the market was trying to work higher, but you look at your momentum indicators and you go, you know what, this thing does not look happy at all. I was thinking about adding some more to the trade. You know what, maybe let's just cool our jets and wait for some W's to start coming in on our indicators, and then we'll go and spend our money.
Wait for W's. Beautiful. Sounds good. Well, thank you for that.
And I don't like this M here in OBV. That does not look good. Somebody has been selling aggressively here recently. So, the question I suppose here is, are there any... Is this an efficient place for you to have your money working?
No.
I can't really answer that. I mean, maybe yes, maybe no. But as it stands,
yeah, I have no idea.
this is kind of just dead money. It looks, I mean, this is like 2 years that this thing's just done nothing here. So that's probably, unfortunately, the way that I would look at this.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. So we do have another one in the chat from Sean asking for TURT, TURT.
All right.
And then I think on /USDT.
TURT
/USDT. Maybe
T as in Tom, U as in uncle, R as in Robert, T as in
we don't
Thomas.
have that one available. Give me one.
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
Oh, one sec.
And is it versus Solana?
TRB.
Oh, okay. TRB.
Yeah.
There you go. You versus what? Tether?
Let's take a look. Yes. Or USD on Coinbase.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, Dishy.
Up 23%. It's going to be tough for me to justify buying this. You're probably too late. Too late, Mary Kate. Yeah. Well, yeah, you can see where the bottom is, right? It's right there. So, and keep in mind, whoever's asking about this, try and understand that this is pretty normal. So, most names, when people ask me, and like 90% of the time when I look at stuff, I'm like, I'm not interested. Not interested. You missed it. All that.
They said more history on Binance.
I think it doesn't matter whether we're on Binance or not.
Yeah.
You can probably see where the buy window is here.
Yeah.
So if we do our reload zones, and we'll throw on 88.62 for fun. Then we flip that around. Right, so you can see where you should have been a buyer. And oh wow, Pretty good example of what Brian's trying to teach you guys here. There's the W.
Yep.
You might even argue.
In the reload
This would
zone.
be a good thing to go and look at like Binance and stuff to see where trends are. But can you see 1, 2, 3? Give me a W on the other side of the trend line. Oh, there it is. Woo! See how easy this game is? I mean, it's actually incredibly easy, but you just got to know what the rules are, and you have to be damn patient and disciplined and wait for everything to set up. I mean, this is actually stunningly
Next book.
cliche, how cliche this is. I mean, doesn't that, do you see all the things I've been trying to teach you, Joe, all coming together in one
Yeah.
image right there?
And I've done this with you long enough now where it's like actually really is clicking.
Yeah, you got to take this chart to your MBA guys
Yeah.
and go, well, this is what this guy's trying to teach me. So, I mean, there's your trade. You want to get rich and quick?
Yeah.
I don't want to get rich quick class, but I do want to get rich, and I want to get rich rather quickly, please.
Yeah.
So, that's an old Simpsons joke. I don't know whether you remember that or not. But man, that's actually stunningly cliche how cliche that is right there. And this is the whole point. Do you remember me last year going get your
Get your act together.
This is exactly what I was talking about. Like these kind of windows, they don't come by every day. In fact, I might
No.
even argue that they only come by about once every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
That you actually get a window as beautiful as that. But once every 3 or 4 years, you get this opportunity. So, is Brian going to be like, oh, yeah, sure, go and buy that. You'll get rich right there?
Yeah. No.
Am I?
I mean, right there. Where you
Right
saying
where
up
we
at the
are right
top
now?
here?
At
Oh,
$147, is
no.
Brian going to say, yeah, no problem, go and buy that. You'll do fine?
No, you're gonna tell me no. I thought you were saying in the reload zone there. I was like, I
This
don't
is
know.
like, this is a good example. Whereas the market's coming into the reload zone, if you're like in a little old lady and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to nanny nibble. I'm just going to nibble. We're at or below reload zones. I don't really have a sign of a bottom yet, but I'm just going to start accumulating because I really like the fundamental story here. Then, the trend lines are broken. Then the W's start coming in. And at this point, you should go, all right, I'm about 70-80% loaded up on all the little nanny nibbles that I've been doing over the past 6-8 months. Hell, maybe I even bought some up here, and then I added some more here, and then I added some more here. So slowly over time, what's happened is, maybe my average cost started up here, but with the purchases, the nanny nibbles, my average cost is getting lower. Maybe I'm like 70-80% loaded up. As soon as you see this event, you go by that last 20-30% to get up to that 5% number, and now you're rocking and rolling. Does that make sense?
It does.
You know what this looks exactly like? This, like, literally is exactly the same trade as that. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And am I going to tell people to come in and buy up here?
No,
No.
sir.
If anything, I'm on the sell side up here, right? And I like to eat my own cooking, and that's the whole point. This whole exercise would be completely pointless if you didn't actually see me doing these trades, because this is exactly the same conversation. At the top, after this thing's popped, you have to be on the sell side, not the buy side. So do you see the similarities between this and this? It's
I
exactly the
do.
same thing.
Yeah.
So again, can't really, no matter how much you like this story, I can't really, what's the word I'm looking for? Endorse even thinking about buying here. Now, the interesting thing is if we just draw a really, this, do you see the W here? So down, up, down, breakout. You see that?
Yeah.
That means this is valid market structure, which means this is a bottom. And that means that we have a new trend established. But what does the trend look like? The trend, don't get sucked into seeing this, the trend is really that. There's your trend. Which means that at some point down the road, we could very easily come right back down to the bottom. And oh gee whiz, if we draw a reload zone value trade, there's 78.6. There's 88.6. There's the original market structure bottom. What did we say was the name of the setup if we ever saw a market structure bottom and a 78.6 in close proximity like this?
Confluence?
Shark setup.
Shark setup.
So,
Ah,
long and short of it here is, and this also is a good example where maybe you bought a whack of this, maybe you bought the W, maybe you nanny nibbled, little old lady. It jumps up, you shod up here to get that risk-free trade. This is your first car, and what are you going to do down here if this thing does correct back down into that window?
reload.
You're going to reload a second car, right? And that's this whole idea that you can use one asset, one chunk of capital to build your car carrier. And you have a whole bunch of investments all based off of one little piece of capital that you just kept recycling back into the market over and over and over. Does that make sense?
Does.
All right, so I'd say this is your first car. And if we do get the pullback, and I hate to say it, but this is another good example. Let me just ask you in simplest terms here.
Okay.
Does this move look sustainable over time? This thing just growing
No.
at that rate indefinitely. Go ask your MBA guys if that kind
No.
of growth rate of an asset is natural, it's healthy, it's sustainable.
No.
You see how quickly it grew here. But then what did it have to do? It actually had to come all the way right back down to the bottom. What are the odds? Huge growth, and then it has to work its way all the way right back down to the bottom. So that's what I would be thinking is going to happen here. And it sucks,
good.
I know. The
Yeah.
person who's probably asked about this is long a ton of this. And they're probably going, oh, Brian, you're saying the exact wrong thing. And this is why I don't get really that many viewers, right? Is because I will point blank tell you this is actually a very risky investment right here. You have to risk all the way back down to the bottom here. And I'm not going to just blatantly say, oh, yeah, buy that, you'll get rich. Yeah, buy my newsletter.
Yeah.
So, all right. Should we talk about trend continuation?
I was going to say, we got time, I think, for one more.
Okay, so this is the value trade. And if you wanted to buy value right now, ironically enough, you can see the value buy level, it's almost exactly the same. So, maybe put an alert on your screen, somewhere between $10 and $15. That's value in my eyes, technically speaking, on this guy. Okay, you see we got one time, and maybe in the coming weeks we can circle back around and we can do the trend continuation of the momentum trade, but just understand a lot of times momentum trades just don't work, and a lot of little trend continuation trades setups that have been setting up here recently have been failing as the price has been waning following the IPOs of these ETFs. So.
Gotcha. So I did send you the market in Discord. Is one we couldn't find that wasn't popping up on your side. The TURT, TURT.
Okay, so what would you like me to do?
I sent you the link to it, but if you want to just click on that
link, app Coinigy TURT USDT.
Yeah.
What's GTIO stand for?
Gate.io. So
so then it should work.
TURT
/USDT.
Yes, I'm not sure. So if you want to just click on the link, I guess, that I sent.
All right, let's see what we got.
So maybe, and so it's a newer coin, it looks like. So maybe switch to the 4 hour. Uh,
All right. Well, actually, there's a cute little W that's trying to come in there.
yeah,
So, caveat emptor. Yeah, there is the W. I mean, I guess the number one question I would have is like, what's the fundamental story, right? Like,
yeah.
why am I getting involved in this? I don't mind that. That's not bad. Momentum is trying to base here. You can see we actually have a little bit of a bear div working right here, right now. Nothing really earth shattering here, momentum wise. Remember, I like to buy stuff on the cheap and I steal. Can you see how through this period here we actually had a bullish momentum divergence? So we were making lower lows in price, but we were actually making higher lows in momentum. If we go off of here,
So, so
and
they are a community-driven, open platform, and they provide a space for everyone to build, donate, and impact Bitcoin ordinals through this coin. Their platforms features a fundamental donation protocol, enabling more open source developers and communities to participate. So, yeah, that is a little bit about them. I'd have to look in more, but that's just what I was found immediately.
it's not bad. I mean, actually, you know what this reminds me of? This is like that funny little bros that I told you about.
Yeah.
Where quite often, right out of the gate, these things go straight up, and then they have to come right back down. If
Yep.
anything, it's actually not a good sign technically that we lost this floor. The issue here, though, is where else is this thing trading, and what older data can we see to actually see where the previous institutional
Actually,
fingerprint is?
actually, even on Coin Market Cap, it only goes back to the 22nd as well. So maybe that was when it's launched.
All right. Well, if that's the case, if this really is the IPO, then that's not a good sign to see this.
Yeah.
That's what that implies is that there was so much selling. Obviously the people. This is exactly the same as like all the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, and all that crap. Right now, who's actually selling the Bitcoin ETFs?
The institutions.
Now, let's be a little more specific.
Um, who's selling them is like
Yeah.
BlackRock. Is
No,
that
we
what
can be
you're
a little
asking?
more specific. Turns out that most of the selling on that ETF is the GBTC people that have been long this GBTC waiting for it to go from over the counter status to actually exchange listed, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're selling on the exchange.
Okay, interesting.
So, for instance, do you know where the Rothschilds? You ever heard of the Rothschilds? Those
You've
wonderful
mentioned
people?
them.
I think I talk a little bit about them every once in a while.
Yeah, you've mentioned them.
Where are the Rothschilds long Bitcoin? And interestingly enough, I can actually show you the exact date and the exact price that they are long Bitcoin. And what did they buy?
I'm not sure.
They're long Bitcoin from $1,000, and
Okay.
they bought the GBTC as their proxy in the space. Now, at
Oh,
$40,000 Bitcoin, do you think that they made any money on that investment?
I'd say so.
And now that it's listed on a major exchange, and that is the buy the rumor, sell the news event, do you think that they would be taking a little bit of profits?
I would imagine they are.
Right. So just understand that when these things come public, quite often that's the end of a very long process, and there are a lot of motivated sellers. I mean, what did that coin stock do when it IPO'd? Did it go up or did it go down?
Coinbase's. It
Yeah.
went down.
Why? Obviously, somebody was selling.
Yeah, I
Why
mean,
would they be selling if this thing was so fucking awesome? The answer is that was the end of a very, very long process to actually get it to the point where it's a publicly traded stock and, the poor public comes in and buys. They don't realize they're buying the end of a story, not the beginning of a story. Interestingly enough, when Facebook came public, what did
Yeah.
it do right out of the gate? It actually fell by 50% right out of the gate. Why? Because there was a lot of people that were involved in the IPO and they basically rang the register on that event. So what I'm trying to say here is if there's so many motivated sellers that they actually drive the price below what it actually opened up at, that means that the imbalance is actually to the sell side, not the buy side. So as I said there a moment ago, this is it's a little bit of a warning that there's something not exactly right about this. Having said that, it looks like whoever's in charge of this thing came in desperately and is trying to stabilize this thing at those levels. So, the way that I would look at this is, again, how much of my portfolio am I allowed to risk on any one idea without
No,
it getting out of control?
never risk more than 5% on any one idea.
So if you wanted to take whatever your stake is and figure out what this risk is, because you can see, in fact, actually, I think that the W actually comes in here. Because notice, if I change this to a line chart, this little W over here disappears. Watch this. Ready? Sir, 3, 2, 1. Boom. That's a lower low. Hey, where did my W go?
Yeah.
So I actually think that the W, believe it or not, is actually here, not this here.
Okay.
So if you wanted to come in, and like I said, it's good to see that they did actually confirm the W here. We could also make the argument too that, from a trend line perspective, that's not a bad counter trend rally peak. So 1, 2, 3. Can I get a W on the other side of the trend line? Nope. Nope. Well, maybe. Oh, hello. There's a W.
Yeah.
So if you want to take less than 5%, maybe like 2, 3%. I know one guy that I used to work with, he runs his own advisory service now. He always says to everybody, just risk 1% of your stake. The key is you're just never, ever, ever allowed to break that 5% rule. Just don't do it. Ever. And if you want to play from a position of strength and just say, look, I'll take that number and knock it in half. No risk will ever be above 2.5%. Then you don't have to stress if this idea doesn't work. And I would just simply say that you'll know that the bear is back in control when we start seeing M's on the other side of this established uptrend line. So notice how we actually dipped recently. You can't really see it. But notice how we dipped recently right back to that trend line right there.
Yeah.
And there were probably a lot of guys. What do you think the odds are that that was a reload zone of the entire range?
Probably pretty high.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a surprise. Look at that. So, not shocking to see that price action. Obviously, this is, kind of threading the needle. This is a bit more advanced. If you're just Joe Sixpack and you're like, Brian, I don't want to be watching the damn screen 24/7. I don't really mind you coming in and nanny nibbling. Just understand, though, that if we do actually start, losing this trend line and then doing things like maybe even putting in an M below the trend line, then that means whatever this bottom is, it's over. So we're not there now. I don't really mind, like I said, we actually have a full-on W on the other side of this downtrend line. That's a clothesline W as well. I don't mind you taking the shot, but just understand that, especially with the fact that Bitcoin's coming up on its halving event. Once the halving event has happened, and usually Bitcoin tops about a month or so ahead of its halving event, Litecoin did exactly the same thing last year. Then we go back into correction mode. And if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin could easily lose 50% of its value here, no problem. What does a name like this do? through this. Right now we're kind of in the, this was, I guess this is just the beginning of the year. So actually, this is an interesting commentary too on something called the January effect. And usually the January effect says that small caps and venture cap names actually do relatively okay through the beginning part of the year. Why? Because through this part of the end of this old calendar year, there is a lot of incentive for anybody who's sitting on a capital loss to actually book the trade for tax purposes. And then
Interesting.
once we get into the new calendar year, then all of that tax tax incentivized selling is washed out, and so as a result, you can see this thing's kind of going sideways. But the question ultimately is, what happens once that is done? And then, like I said, what happens to this whole space once this sort of impetus to bid crypto up, i.e., Bitcoin halving event, what happens, once we get to sort of the middle of March? Because usually Bitcoin tops out about a month or so ahead of its halving event. So there's your window. You better make damn sure that whatever, rally that you participate in, if you do just simply take the trade and you're thinking about 2 to 1s, is it realistic to get that 2 to 1 in this window? Interestingly enough, what do we say is sort of the knee jerk technical objective that we should always use?
50%.
Right? So, good old 50% rule. You can see that's not going to quite give you that 2 to 1, right? It's going to give you 1.5 to 1. So that's probably not the best level. If anything, this is almost an endorsement for this reload zone trade. Because the guys that did the reload zone trade, even if you got a shitty fill, let's say you went long at 61.8, you did the trade back to the 50% rule, that's 3.67 to 1 risk reward. Very acceptable. So does that make sense?
It does.
So that's what I kind of see, and also too, if we do that look left kind of principle, remember I drew the downtrend line. It looks to me like this is some sort of significant level in here. That high right there, also this high right here, and this low right in here, and this low right in here. Can you kind of see how it looks like there's a hell of a lot of pivot levels right off of that
Hmm.
level? So again, and also too, we could throw on things like 38.2. So there's our 38.2, and there's right into that window. So what this tells me here is that these trades off of the reload zone are probably going to do perfectly fine. The waiting for the double bottom to come in and buying that big W, it's probably a little bit too much risk to make this a slam dunk trade. If anything, maybe if you're lucky, this is a pretty big tail. So if we do get some sort of pause, a nice little pullback, and we can get a nice little W to come in off of those levels down there, that's probably where I would like to try and get in. And you can see this is going to be battle royale. Either we W out down in here and it's a kick-ass trade and you're awesome, or we lose the trend line and we M out here, and yeah, you're toast, and you better book the loss if we break down here and just walk away. So interesting
Perfect.
level, and you can really easily see it on the daily chart, right? The daily chart is just, you hopefully can see the W pretty clearly.
Yeah, you
Maybe you
can.
throw your bid in off of the clothesline, but you can see down, up, down, even a little bit of a bullish engulfing bar there. So, you can see anywhere down in here is probably not a bad place to do a little bit of nibbling. You could nanny nibble this. If you do, just understand, it's interesting. Where did that God candle go? It looks like it disappeared on the daily chart, which is a little bit suspect. And then again, any kind of counter trend rallies. Do you see how that 4 hour candle that was pretty big? Can you see that huge wick there on the daily charts?
Hmm.
who are these guys? Right in here.
Sleeping on the couch.
That's right. You can see them, or in the doghouse. And any kind of rally up into this area, you know those guys are going to be motivated to get the hell out of there. So there's your idea. Can you get doubles on this? That looks like that's a tough sell. Notice that's 3 cents right down at the bottom, and these levels are like what, 4?
Bless you.
Oh, excuse
Bless
me.
you.
4 to 5. So it's not going to be an easy slam dunk. There's probably far easier names to bang out those shods, kind of like what I showed you with my funny little bros.
Yeah.
But having said that, there's probably like 2 to 1s, 3 to 1s if you were, shopping against these lows and looking for that sort of, what would you call it? Like dead cat bounce trade. That's probably what that is. Very
Gotcha.
technically normal. Having said that, it's meh. I mean, it's there, but I much prefer to draw these studies, and 38.2 is like 3x, 4x away from where I'm buying. So any kind of pop like you saw on that bros, if that thing goes back to 38.2s, I've got like a 10x on my hands. I love those ones.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, it's there. Understand if we do get back into these 38.2, 50% levels, you're probably going to see a bunch of sellers come out of the woodwork.
Gotcha.
All right. And what time is that? 7:12. So
Seven
there you
ten,
go.
yeah,
There's a
seven
good couple
twelve. So
hours.
we're wrapping up, but thank you again for all of your expertise, Brian.
Do you think, was
Uh,
that of any value? Did you learn anything here tonight?
I got a full page here of new notes, so I'd say
Excellent.
so.
Good
So
job.
I'm excited for when we meet up. You'll get to see my full notebook of all the notes. I'll
Cool.
prove to you that I've been taking notes, not just been here zoning out for the past couple months.
Well, I make you work, so I can
Yes,
definitely
sir.
tell. There's no doubt about it. You can't just sit here and just lollygag for 2 hours. I make you work.
Oh, yes. I'm here. Well, as always, we appreciate you and we appreciate everyone watching this video on YouTube. Please remember to like and subscribe. Um, And if you're new here, give Brian a follow on Twitter, give us a follow, check out therationalinvestor.com. They really are doing some amazing stuff over there. Their team, I'm in their Discord channel, and the community over there is truly amazing. So, got nothing but high regards to say about the community they're building over at TRI.
Yeah. Well, and really, you can't really see it. Before, I had a big sort of group picture on our front page. I don't know whether I really like the look of this front page right now. But if you come on our page and maybe we have more pictures of the community. I think actually the community is the real selling feature of TRI. I mean, it helps that this Beamish guy happens to know a bit of this stuff and can help you. But our community, we all work together, and we're not really out to shill anything in particular. If you want to take the course, great, fine, love you for it. But the community is what we're all about. This was our crew in Portugal. This was our crew, I guess, when we were over in Germany. Maybe that was when we were locally here in Vancouver. But we have I really like our community. It's a great group of people, and I think they all sort of work together to try and make this world a better place. So.
Yes, sir. And you guys have another trip coming up. You're heading down to El
Yeah, I'm gonna
Salvador.
go down and check out that Bitcoin beach down in El Salvador. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's shocking when you go on social media, all of the videos that are saying, leave Canada, get out of Canada. Canada is a death trap. It's a nightmare there. You'll have a horrible life if you go to Canada. I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah.
So, the problem that I have, of course, is that I have a 23-year-old special needs son who is very
Hmm.
low functioning and very high maintenance, and that's the only reason why I stay in Canada. If I didn't have that responsibility, there's no way I'd be in Canada. And I tell you, just going and living on the beach down in El Salvador and just living the Bitcoin life down there, I gotta tell you, it's pretty damn attractive. So I'm going to go live that life for a couple weeks, and we're going to make our way down the coast. I'll tell you though, if it's snowing and ice storming the way that it is right now in the middle of February, I don't know whether we're going to be able to do this or not. I
Yeah,
might,
might might be switching a flight.
I might actually even think about like doing something stupid like taking the train down the coast. Can you buy like a train ticket where you just get to get off the train at certain cities and stay
I
for a
know
day
that
or
there's
two?
one from here to Seattle. I do know that.
Is there?
Yep,
All right. Well, I might just pick Chris up from the airport, and we'll take the train from Seattle down to your neck of the woods. So that means you got to pick us up there at the train
you
station
got
too.
it. Well, thank you
All
again,
right.
Brian, and best of luck with Liam tomorrow. And to everyone out there, we appreciate you, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have yourself a great afternoon. Bye for now.
Beautiful.